Good evening. I'd like to call the governing board meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District to order on Wednesday, August 20th at 7 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so I ask that you kindly turn off or silence your cell phones at this time. Members of the public are welcome to speak to the board on agendized items or during public comments for items that are not on the agenda. If anybody wishes to speak to the board tonight, there are blue cards in the back of the room. If you could please fill out a blue card so we know when to call upon you. And tonight we do have some special guests with us from Cuesta Elementary School. Welcome back to school. Vice Principal Medeiros is here with her students, and at this time I would like to welcome them to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And at this time, welcome back to the podium. I think you have a nice presentation for us.
Good evening, Board President Boulay, trustees, and Dr. Nicholas. It's a pleasure to be here representing Cuesta this evening. I have our ASB President Adian and a fellow peer Mahad to go over a presentation about our ASB program at Cuesta.
Good evening, esteemed board members. My name is Adian Bhartiraja, and I'm a member of the ASB team here at Cuesta. My name is Mahal Rafe, and welcome back to the school year. The ASB community has came together the day before school to create posters welcoming our amazing students and staff back to campus. Though the school year just started, we already have some exciting student-led events in the works. We plan on kicking off school with a back-to-school pride rally, as well as an all-inclusive talent show, including all grades, including special education. We also plan on having both visual and performing arts at the talent show. Not to mention our holiday penguin patch store, as well as themed middle school dances for middle schoolers, as well as younger students and parents. We also have a health fair being planned right now we plan on partnering with local agencies to plan this community event focused on interactive activities like a short, fun workout, educational stands, and of course, delicious, healthy snacks. This year, ASB is planning some fantastic activities to increase school spirit. All of this begins on September 11th for First Responders Day, where we will celebrate those who have honored our community. Next up, we'll celebrate Halloween with Spooky Spirit Week, right, with activities which will run until October 27th to October 31st. Then we encourage everyone to speak out against bullying with Superhero for Bullying Prevention Day on November 14th. Then comes Deck the Halls of Cuesta to bring some festivity into our school. This will happen during December 15th to December 18th. As well as our big event, which will celebrate a snow day, and December 18th. Last but not least, Kindness Spirit Week, which will run through February 17th to February 20th, which will spread kindness throughout our entire school. Cuesta has a history of academic excellence, and the 2024 to 2025 year was no different. Cuesta students excelled and improved in all categories of CASP and CAS testing. We proudly reside as #1 school on the north side of Mountain House. Our goals for the school year include continued excellence in academics, demonstrated through advancing our test scores, as well as success in our daily classes and academics. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Question, just wanted to say great job, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, same. Great job.
Yep.
I had a quick comment. I just thought that all the activities that you guys have planned out for the year are very well thought out and planned very early on. I know back when I was at Bethany, we were still kind of coming up with the ideas on the fly. So I think it's just really cool to see that you guys have so many different things lined up, all ready to go, like from the start of the year to December through Halloween. Like you guys have so many different cool rallies, spirit weeks. Just in general, thought it was really cool. And both of you guys were very well spoken too. So just wanted to give a shout out to you guys too. Thought it was a really cool presentation.
And congratulations on all those test scores. That is definitely something to be proud of. Hard work from the students and the teachers and the administrators. So keep it up. And you guys are welcome to go home and work on homework or whatever other activities you have planned tonight. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3, roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Here.
Vanita Daniel,
Here.
Samik Modi,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Donovan Rudish.
Here.
Thank you. Item 4, approval and or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Modi, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no nos. Item 5, committee reports. Item A, District Advisory Committee, trustee Modi.
Nothing to report.
Item B, District English Language Advisory Committee, trustee Olson.
Yes, the District English Language Advisory Committee met yesterday, and it was nicely attended by families throughout the district. And the committee reviewed what the process is to identify English learners. And we learned that there are 47 different unique languages in our district. And then we reviewed the reclassification criteria, and there are the reclassification dates on the website for people who'd like to go to those celebrations, which will be this fall. And then we reviewed all the wonderful materials that the district uses to support students, like integrated into the classroom, and then also specific designated times to comply with the state laws on that kind of time needed for English learners, and the funding that also supports English instruction in the district. It was very informative, and the next meeting will be on October 14th, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Education Committee, trustee Pombo.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Facilities Committee, trustee Olson.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Policy Committee, trustee Daniel.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Safety Committee, trustee Pombo.
Our next Safety Committee meeting is September 24th at 3:45 at the Professional Development Center.
Thank you. And Wellness Committee is me, and the first meeting for the school year is in October. I wrote the date down on a different paper and left it at home. So, but we have a couple meetings before that, so I'll get you that date. Thank you. Item 6, Governing Board Reports. Student Board Member Rudish.
Good evening, President Boulay, Lammersville trustees, and Dr. Kirk Nicholas. To start off with ASB and leadership updates, our first full week back to school has been jam-packed with different activities and events coming up. To start us off, our leadership and ASB have been hard at work preparing for homecoming this year. We're excited to announce that our homecoming parade will be scheduled for September 19th, followed by our homecoming football game later that night against Oakdale. Go Mustangs! Speaking of sports, our Mustang athletes have a variety of different events coming up. Starting off strong, our first tackle football game against Lathrop High School is scheduled for this Friday, August 22nd, neon theme. Our tennis players will also be busy this month with their match against Whitney High School on the 25th, followed by their game against Gregory High School on the 26th. Finally, our varsity flag football team will be competing off against River Island High School on the 26th. Good luck to all of our athletes, and once again, go Mustangs. We're also thrilled to announce that our Drama and Stagecraft Club has already begun preparing for their upcoming Play 6. These events will be hosted from September 25th to the 27th. And then some additional high school updates. In addition to our amazing athletes, actors, and leaders, our students are now able to enjoy off-campus privileges that allow upperclassmen to grab a quick bite. So watch out, McDonald's. Our graduating class of 2026 will also be glad to know that senior night for football takes place on the 22nd, so same day as our first tackle football game. And then finally, our very first SAT of the school year will take place 3 days from now on August 23rd. So good luck to everyone, and this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. The high school's already been busy in the first few weeks of school, too. Thank you. Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President. On July 4th, I attended the parade along with other trustees. And
during my absence, I've been viewing all the meetings that have been taking place. And I do have to say that I just wished I was here because I missed the wonderful presentations that took place. I did want to mention a couple of things about the presentation. First, I would like to thank Dr. Nicholas for sending those presentations over to me. I did see the SPED presentation by Director Manley, and I have to say it was such a wonderful celebration knowing that 57 students have exited out of the program. But I also wanted to touch upon another aspect of it. I did hear the discussions, and there was a lot about the funding and the student celebration. But I wanted to share something about your team. So I have been getting great feedback from your team, the teachers, the SPED teachers who I met for the past, I would say, 8 months or so. And they're so happy with the changes that have been happening within the system, within the classroom. And they shared with me that they felt that they are able to contribute very effectively towards the growth of the students. So I would like to give a shout out to your leadership too. Then I also got a chance to look at the LUSD data matrix project, which is a very innovative framework by Director Sean, Johan, Denise, and Leticia. And I'm an IT person by profession and education, so I was very much excited to see the technology, the new technology that's been evolved, and also looking forward to seeing the updates. The next one I was really thrilled about was the presentation by Assistant Superintendent Sharp. And that was a moment I truly wished I was sitting here. And I do have to, it took me back 3 years, back when I think that was the time, you had taken the role, you had started with the role. And that was the time when we were so much focused on science. And science was, something that, as a school district, we were trying to pick up and see what we can do better. And when I saw the growth at which the science has, it was a +5 points or +5 something. I was just astounded by the growth and the effort that's put in and being put in by the curriculum team, the thoughts that has gone through towards the academics, and we're able to see results. So thank you so much for that. So I really enjoyed watching our meeting, even though I was not able to be present here. I also wanted to say to our student board member, Rudish, that your reports have been great to hear, even today. And your questions are really thoughtful, and they're great questions. So welcome on board on behalf of me, and great job. Lastly, on a personal standpoint, my treatment did go well. I did fall sick during the post-care period, but I'm back now, and I'm so glad to be home. So thank you for all the positive thoughts that everyone sent. And there ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pombo.
Yes, thank you. On August 11th, Superintendent Nicholas and I, along with superintendents and board members from across the area, met with Assembly Leader Heath Flora and discussed state issues that affect education, funding, and state mandates and the like. I thought it was a very productive meeting, and then later that day I attended the Lammersville School Foundation meeting at Lammersville School. On August 13th, I attended back to school night at Cordis Elementary. Always enjoy visiting with families and teachers on back to school night. And then on the 14th, I attended back to school night at Costa Elementary, and again enjoyed visiting with families and teachers. On August 17th, I, along with Trustee Olson, and Trustee Modi, attended the Independence celebration hosted by Mountain House, the India Independence celebration hosted by Mountain House Sports and Recreation Club. And it was a nice time, a lot of celebration and good to see. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
On August 14th, I attended Questa's Back to School Night, and it was a great time seeing everybody out and hearing the teachers talk about that their well-prepared plans for the year. And just as great was the Menchie's that was available for sale to support the school foundation. And I can't help but take note that, you know, the way the partnerships of these parent groups are working with the school site to do what's right for kids. And that was really nice to see. On August 17th, as Trustee Pombo said, I attended the India Independence Day at Central Park. And it was a really wonderful event. There was some very beautiful and diverse music. Like it would go from one calm style to like kind of a hip hop style, and I was really enthralled with the entertainment actually. So it was a really well done event. And then yesterday, August 19th, I attended the District English Language Advisory Committee. This is my first time on that committee, and I'm really enjoying it already. It's a wonderful committee, and it's wonderful the work that we do for our English learners. And so I was appreciative of everything that I learned there. And I just wanted to conclude my report by thanking Dr. Nicholas for going above and beyond and attending a meeting to support not just Mountain House and Lammersville, but this general area. And I don't know if he'll report on it, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I just wanted to thank him for doing what he did, because like he does go above and beyond, and that matters. And I know that a lot of people do, but this week, spotlight's on him. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Modi.
Thank you. One day I'm going to figure out the order that
Keep switching
that
it.
these
I got to
are
keep you on
going
your
in.
toes. I have to give everybody an opportunity to go first.
I appreciate it. On August 14th, I attended back to school night at Hanson with my two children there. It's great to see the students, the parents, the staff, teachers back on campus. Really saw renewed interest in kind of, back to learning, and kids were more excited than I would have thought, right, to be back and see. But again, they get to see their friends. To see the classrooms all prepped up again was just exciting. So, want to thank everyone that puts a lot of effort into making that event successful, and obviously all the effort that our staff and teachers do to get the schools ready for students to be back on campus. On August 15th, I did 2 site visits. The first one was at the high school, so thank you to Dr. Auerbach for sitting with me and just going through some basic mechanics for myself that just help educate me on how things operate, and some reasoning behind some things that pop up on social media and in community concerns from parents. So I got to learn about scheduling and success and flex, and I hear these terms and never really had a great grasp on them. So I appreciate that. I also it happened to be the day that we were doing the district-wide EPIC interviews. So I got to see that a little bit. So that's a great program. I know, for those that don't know, we won the Golden Bell Award for last year. It's a great program that gives a lot of opportunities to, a specific group of students that get to intern then throughout the district. Got to go into several classrooms, observe our great teachers and students. Included a forensics setup for a crime scene at the high school. Went into the culinary program class, went into a biomed class. Got to look at these, I'm going to get the word wrong, but anatomage tables. For those that don't know, these are digital cadaver tables. And they ballpark around $100,000 each. We have 2 of them at the high school. And they allow you to basically take a scalpel or your finger and act like you're cutting. You peel away a layer, look at the next layer, peel that one away. You can then cycle through a geriatric person, a pediatric, a pregnant woman, so a lot of different scenarios that, that type of technology to be at a high school is insane. It really is. So one, I think it shows the dedication of the tools that we provide our students and the opportunities that they are getting that many other students in surrounding districts probably do not have. I certainly did not have it. We were lucky to get a frog to dissect in biology. But to have that is truly incredible. The second thing I'll say is, that funding was grant funding. And so I think it also points to the effort that our staff does across the district to find every single available dollar to bring forward, to buy supplies and opportunities for our students. So I think that was, to me, such a great example of so many different things that come together in the most beautiful way. So I want to share my appreciation for that. I did ask him about his top priorities, and two of them included improving culture within the staff and the students, as well as communication with the students and parents. So looking forward to see those initiatives and strides made in those areas. I know with his team and the right focus, I'm sure he'll get further along that journey. I then spent time and went to Altamont. Principal Bogle took me into a classroom for each grade. So I had asked her to take me to 2 classrooms. I went to a lot of them, which was really good. It kind of gave me a really nice look at the intricacies of each of the grade levels. She shared that they do something called Kindergarten Academy, which I was not aware of. Did not have it at Hanson for my children. But it's basically a day that before school starts, kindergarten students, and I think maybe TK also, can come to the school in a little bit more relaxed environment, not everyone else on campus, and gets them a little bit more acclimated to the learning environment. So I just thought that's a great initiative. Something I know that she had mentioned that other schools are looking at potentially replicating if that's feasible. Learned a little bit about the mystery science curriculum in our elementary grades. That was really cool. Definitely notice a difference when you go from 3rd to 4th grade and there's 24 kids to 30 kids. You walk in, you're like, wow, that's a lot of kids to keep track of and focus on. So it just goes, our teachers do a great job of, pulling certain students up to their table, providing more focused attention there, while the rest of the students do, continue in their coursework. Got to learn about self-contained middle school teachers. I didn't know that was a thing. So for me, this was just a very educational experience. And then one of the coolest things is they had in the admin area, they had a relaxation room, which was, I think, designed and maybe implemented by a former student. And so it's got this dual purpose. You can if you do really well in class, you can earn some time in there, so you can go in there and just chill out a little bit. But at the same time, if you are having a really bad day, that's an area that you could go and cool off. If you're potentially a student's acting out or something like that. So there's a lot of unique things. They also, obviously I know Hanson best. Altamont, they got playgrounds in like 6 different areas or 4 different areas. So just a lot of variation, which I thought was really interesting. So I want to thank both Dr. Auerbach and Principal Bogle for the time that they spent with me on Friday. August 16th, went to Music in the Park. I thought it was going to be freezing, right? It was a high of only like 78 that day, but the weather was beautiful. And what I noticed now is, I think as a school board member, I'm getting more accustomed to staff and administrators, is there's so many in our community that are part of the district that show up to these events because they're in the community, and it's just another interaction point for them with the community. So I thought that was, something that I felt was like, oh, this is pretty cool. August 17th, this is probably my longest board report ever. August 17th, I did attend the Indian Independence Day celebration by the Mount House Sports and Recreation Club. I thank them for having me, along with Trustee Pombo and Trustee Olson. On August 19th, I attended the San Joaquin Delta College board meeting, which was held in Mountain House with Dr. Nicholas and President Boulay. Really interesting to see several different community members all advocate for a real campus at that location and brick and mortar building. So hopefully they heard that loud and clear, and hopefully we'll see some progress soon. Also attended or joined an online workshop from the county on improved sidewalks, which I think could definitely benefit our Lammersville school. They did specify they got grant funding for adding sidewalks and things like that. They mentioned that schools are one of their top priorities, so that could be an area for opportunity for our families that live near the Lammersville Elementary School to potentially advocate for safe passage for kids in the morning and going back. And that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yesterday, on the 19th, I attended along with Trustee Modi and Superintendent Nicholas, the San Joaquin Delta College Board meeting. And it was really nice to have it right here, very close in Mountain House. The audience was bigger than I thought. There were a number of community members there. And thank you to Dr. Nicholas for speaking, and other community members, again, for speaking on brick and mortar buildings, expanding the footprint of the campus, and bringing more opportunities, more classes to not just our high school students, but to community students. So fingers crossed that they heard the people that spoke. And that concludes my report. Item 7, receiving of public comments. I didn't get any blue cards. Is anybody from the audience interested in making a public comment? Seeing none, I will move to item 8, consent items for consideration. Actions proposed for consent are consistent with the approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. Trustees receive board agenda background information in advance of scheduled meetings and are prepared to vote with knowledge of the consent items. Item A, governing board meeting minutes from the regular meeting August 6, 2025. Item B, contracts under $50,000. Item C, ratification of certificated and classified personnel actions. Item D, updated 2025-2026 fundraisers. Item E, ratification of 2025-2026 inter and intra-district transfer requests. Item F, ratification of budget revisions and warrant lists for July 2025. Item G, acceptance of donations. $500 gift card from Winco Foods LLC to support the continuation of Lunch with the Principal and Back to School Splash at Altamont Elementary School. Would anybody from the board like to pull any of these items for discussion or separate consideration?
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Pombo and a second by Trustee Daniel, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Madam President, would you please, or Madam Clerk, oh my gosh. Do you want to be Madam President? Would you please do the honors? Thank you.
And we have a lot of lists. HR's been busy again, so we'd like to welcome the following people: Sukia Adya, intervention teacher; Samithra Anbarasan, noon duty supervisor; Sapna Aurora, special education instructional aide; Asha Asokan, special education teacher; Alondra Avendano, instructional aide; Ramya Balaji, instructional aide; Asha Bhatia, special education instructional aide; Sharice Bradley, instructional aide; Jamie Costa, food service worker; Kumkum Dadich, noon duty supervisor; Sawama Narayani Durarajan, noon duty supervisor; Jessica Fregoso Ruelos, high school staff secretary; Sabrina Gulam, intervention teacher; Anusha Gunturu, noon duty supervisor; Risha Gupta, noon duty supervisor; Johnny Huang, CTE biomedical science biology teacher; Janaki Javabanevas, noon duty supervisor; Peter Knudsen, biology teacher; Videhi Kamuri, ELOP instructional aide; Abigail Lau, kindergarten teacher; Jennifer Lennon, kindergarten teacher; Melissa McClelland, ELOP instructional aide; Michael McGibney, special education instructional aide; Fatima Mejia, Spanish teacher; Nicolette Miller, kindergarten teacher; Nidhi Moza, noon duty supervisor; Praperna Munangi, noon duty supervisor; Shailaja Nachagari, ELOP instructional aide; Naima Naim, noon duty supervisor; Vidya Nelvagal Subramaniam, instructional aide; Vasuda Nyagi, noon duty supervisor; Jayasri Nukula, ELOP instructional aide; Smiti Patil, noon duty supervisor; Rashila Ragapathy Ravishandran, ELOP instructional aide; Sweeta Rathi, ELOP instructional aide; Crystal Segura, food service worker. Whoops, I lost my spot, sorry. Sesrika Sakar, instructional aide; Nita Shind, ELOP instructional aide; Subhashri Singh, special education instructional aide; Sanjita Somasundaram, special education instructional aide; Alexa Villalobos, registered behavior technician; Jamie Vincent, noon duty supervisor; Ramya Vinod Kumar, special education instructional aide, Michael Wally, self-contained classroom teacher, Eric Walzer, biology teacher, Sarisha Yurabuena, ELOP instructional aide, and temporary teacher Ashley Auerbach, social science. Welcome to the Lammersville.
Thank you, and congratulations again to our HR department for all of that hard work. I'm sure that was a lot of scheduling, and but great for our district. Item 9, district administrative reports. Item A, superintendent's report.
Yes, I'm going to forego my normal report. I do have 2 exciting announcements after Assistant Superintendent Busatil presents on student enrollment and student placement.
Good evening, President Boulay, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for having me here this evening to talk about student enrollment and placement. So when we look at our student enrollment across sites, we have a big variation with Lammersville Elementary School, our oldest and smallest campus at 159 students, to our largest elementary school, Hanson, with 915. We have Bethany that continues to kind of buck the norms. As one of our older campuses, having opened in 2007, it continues to have one of the higher enrollment counts, despite being one of our older campuses. And then all the way to our high school with 2,557 students, giving us a total enrollment currently just under 8,050 students. So when we look at enrollment tracking, all of the applications are submitted through Aries Air, and through that system, we're able to track when they've been received, which they're dated and time-stamped. In addition to that, we're able to monitor that not only the initial receipt, but when they've been returned, received again, and sometimes it goes back and forth a few times. And that's in addition to any communication emails from the student services team directly. An enrollment is considered complete once all of the required documents have been submitted. So that's verification of address, all of the documents that we need, birth certificate, all of those items. And then once that enrollment is solidified, that's the date that's used to place a student on a wait list. So for example, if we had an application that was submitted February 5th, let's say, but it was not supported by all the necessary documents until July, that student's enrollment date would not be until July. So our class sizes by grade level. So TK is a 20-to-2 ratio with a classroom teacher and an instructional aide. K3 is 24-to-1, 4th through 8th grade, 32-to-1, and then over to our high school with a 35-to-1 ratio. So when students enroll in our district, our goal as a student services team is to always place them at their school of residence. However, based on the available space that we have, which is determined by staffing when it's done at the end of the school year, students may be overflowed to another school site. The goal again is to place them at the closest overflow site that has available space at their required grade level. Unfortunately, for some of our students, they may be overflowed for more than one school year. The students that are on overflow status are also tracked in Aries with the goal of returning them at the end of a school year in preparation for the next school year, assuming that there's available space. When space does become available at a school of residence, the family is contacted to see if they would like to move their student. If they prefer to keep their student at the overflow site, they are provided the opportunity to submit an intra-district transfer request to either continue out that school year or to go into the next school year. And then those are approved on space available as well. So looking at our overflow numbers, there's a big outlier, an obvious outlier, that's Cordis Elementary School. So they have 120 students that are on overflow. It's important to note that of that 120 students, 76 of those students are TK, as we do not have space for any TK students at Cordis Elementary School. Since the start of the school year, we've returned 28 students back to their school of residence. We also had 31 students whose parent or guardian declined to return to their school of residence. They got settled after the first few days of school and they've opted to stay at their overflow school site, and so they would go through the transfer request. Unfortunately, we do have some families that have split students at two different school sites, perhaps. And then, again, some outliers there. So you see Cordes Elementary School has 47 families that have split students. Of that 47, 41 of those are TK siblings. Next to that is not quite the same high number, but Cuesta, 14 of their 18 are kindergarten students. We just didn't have enough space for the kindergarten students for those families. The next part is an observation that I will mention as a little bit of a heavy heart. As a former teacher at Lammersville Elementary School and a very proud former principal, some of our families are split by choice, because they do not want the two siblings placed at the same school, which a school of placement would be Lammersville. And that is based off of what they perceive as the aesthetics of the school or how long of a commute it is to get to Lammersville Elementary School. Of course, the student services staff does a wonderful job communicating the high quality instruction that happens there, the fantastic staff. And the real observation that oftentimes when students are overflowed there, they opt to stay at Lammersville. So that is just something important to note here, that some families would prefer to have their students split than be placed over at Lammersville Elementary School, as it's not part of within Mountain House. For our inter-district transfers, again, that's a transfer agreement between the boards of two different districts, oftentimes for us, Manteca, Tracy, Ripon, valid for 1 year, and we have different priorities. So students that have active military personnel family members, specifically their parent or guardian, or if they've been identified as a victim or an investigation as a victim of bullying, they would be given priority. And so again, those are the lists that come forward nearly every board meeting. In addition to that, other considerations are childcare. If a student is going to be finishing out a graduation or a promotion year, so either as an 8th grade student or a senior, to make sure that they're staying with that cohort of students. If they're going to be out of our district for less than a year, and then the Allen Bill. So currently we have just under 110 employee students who had an inter or an intra-district transfer request approved this school year. And so that allows their students to either go at the school where they are working or a school in close proximity to where they're working. And that allows us to keep high quality candidates, whether it's our teachers, our instructional aides, our food service workers, our custodians, any of the staff members would have the opportunity to submit that. And then to date, we have done denials of 68 inter-district transfers, largely due for space, or sometimes it might be a renewal that we decline for one of the following reasons: a violation of school or state laws, unsatisfactory attendance, unsatisfactory discipline, and then unsatisfactory academic progress. So that would be, if it was a new request, we would just deny it outright from the get-go, or if it's a student that hasn't been meeting our expectation here for our district, then we would go ahead and deny that for the next school year. And that communication happens prior to the end of the year, like that if they were to submit another inter-district transfer, that it would not be approved. So I have provided some scenarios. These are all scenarios that are real for our district. And so scenario 1, a family enrolls with a 2nd, 4th, and 7th grade students. There's no place for the 2nd grade student at the school of residence. So all 3 students could be placed at the same overflow site. Or another option would be the 4th and the 7th are placed at their school of residence, and the 2nd grade student is placed on the overflow list to then be returned as soon as there's space available at that grade level, either in that school year or the following school year, whenever that space comes up. Scenario 2 is a family enrolls 2 students, 3rd and 5th, no space for either student. Again, both can be placed on the same overflow site, also placed on the overflow list, or the students can be placed at 2 separate school sites. So when we have placements, either like scenario 1, scenario 2, or the next 2 that I'm going to share, those are communications with the family about what would you like to do. These are the options. We have option 1, option 2, option 3 sometimes. We try to get as creative as possible to support the families. Scenario 3 would be a family enrolls with a 1st and 5th grader. There's no space. Both students, again, could go to the same school site, or Space becomes available for the first grader, the parent accepts the return and then decides to split the students. Could happen. The parent calls 2 days later asking for the first grade student to be returned again to the overflow site. True story, we had one family change their mind 4 times about whether the student was going to be returned, not returned, returned, not returned. And so the student, end of the story is, the student actually ended up staying at their overflow site. And then into scenario 4, dates are so important for student enrollment for a variety of reasons. So family number 1 submits an IDA on July 29th, family 2, August 1st, family 3, August 4th. Seems very boom, boom, boom. In the meantime, student enrollment during this particular time of year, we're getting enrollments all the time. So in between families 2 submission and family 3 submission, we had more enrollments for the necessary school site. So the result would be that family 1 and 2 got their IDAs approved. Family 3 did not, just because in that little bit, those few days, more student enrollments come in. It is not uncommon during the peak for us to come in as a student services team and to have received upwards of 25, 30 enrollments overnight. So family number 3, good news is our enrollment fluctuates throughout the school year. So there is an opportunity for us to go ahead and approve that IDA at a later date in the school year. Any questions?
I do have just one question. When we're do we have a priority system set up so that we deal with all of the intra-district transfers and no inter-district transfers are taken care of until we make sure that all the people that reside within the boundaries have been covered? Or are they intertwined?
So the first inter-district transfers that are processed are employee inter-district transfers. And then from there, they're all processed as they come in.
Okay, and so those employee intra-district, are they processed only after all of the other student intra-district transfers, or are they intermingled in?
So typically, a lot of those students are continuing. So as soon as it's based off of other districts' rules, so let's say Tracy might have a certain date that all inter-district requests have to be submitted by January 1st. I'm making this up. And another district, so a lot of that is driven by when they come from their other districts. I will share that we had new staff members to our district this year, to where their inter-district wasn't denied, but we were not able to place their student at the same location where they were working.
Right. And so I lost my train of thought, but once the Allen bill transfers, my understanding is that they don't have to reapply every year like other transfers may have to, because they're deemed having, once they get it transferred, Ed Code deems them as being a resident of the districts for purposes of enrollment. So.
Yes, that is correct. Our process, we've always made sure that we have the most accurate information. So there was a time when we're evolving away from that a little bit of having families that are on an Allen bill. But basically, once we agree as a district, whether we have them apply or not, they actually are ours if that started in kindergarten and they're now a senior. Correct.
Can I summarize, and tell me if I'm correct or not, but for families, particularly in those scenarios, and this is going to be regarding families that are coming into Mountain House or families that have new students either attending TK or kindergarten. So if they have a new student, it would benefit them to enroll as soon as possible and make sure their packet is complete as soon as possible. So procrastination is not going to benefit them, but to get that follow up on their emails, follow up on communication in a rapid manner will benefit them for having their students at their school of residence. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I have one more question. Last year, we talked about implementing address verification for certain grades. Can you remind me what grades those were and how that process went?
So last year we did 8th grade as they were preparing to go into our high school because we're anticipating that we're going to be impacted for space. And it went very well overall. It was quite time consuming. We did have some families that were not able to provide the necessary verification, so they were disenrolled. The beginning of the year wave has crashed, and so the student services team is gearing up to do the next verification cycle. So we'll be prepared to do that as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Trustee Boulay, I just want to, you said something that sparked something with me. With our enrollment process, wouldn't you say it's probably a little bit easier than some districts like in the Bay Area, for example, where parents have to actually still physically go and line up outside in a line? I believe that still happens to this day in some places, right?
There are some places that are still traditional paper enrollment, but there's also some districts that require a new enrollment every single year. And so we're opting to do a hybrid. We're not doing a new enrollment every single year, but we're going through and verifying the address.
Yeah, I just think it's because when I first moved to California, I was in one of those paper districts, and it's much more convenient here. I'll just say that.
It is. It is.
I have a couple of questions. So the first one is just, I wouldn't call it a question. I just want to understand the experience. This year we applied, the address verification and kind of an automated process, right? Not like filling the form and then more email communication rather than a call. Because I know that previous years your team has had the patience to, address so many calls with regards to enrollment. So how would you, what is your update with the new change? Like, how has it helped your team?
So not having to process physical paper is always helpful. However, each address verification or enrollment packet, even if it's digital, requires an individual staff review. So it's taken out like the physical paper part of it, but the attention to detail, to making sure that what we're seeing is actually accurate. And to be frank, people are very creative in their use of technology tools. So trying to verify if what we see is actually accurate and not modified in any way. So the staff is very, very diligent. So as such, that takes time. So we gain it on one side, but technology has also assisted on a different side, which then offsets some of the time gain.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to know about that. So the other thing that came up was you mentioned about the switches, right? How long do we allow the switches to take place? Because it's kind of it's going to be difficult at your team's end to manage those switch. So,
So what happens is typically the team is very, very gracious. And then they'll get to a point where they say, Irene, this is what has happened. And then I will be the absolute, this is the date. So in a scenario where the family's going back and forth, that one that I described, that was over the course of 2 days. So the family was told that we needed to have, on day 2, we needed to have a final decision as we have other students pending placement. And so in that case, they were given the 2 days to make their decision as a family, and then their spot at their school of residence would go to the next student.
Right, thank you. So are we setting like a deadline date for the switches, between the switches for families who go back and forth?
So typically what happens is, say that we're in this week, we're identifying available spaces going into next week. So then there's a communication that's happening, and then all those decisions for next week are made by Thursday in preparation for the final week. So once a spot becomes available, it's usually gobbled up within a week, because then by Friday, at the very latest, early Friday morning, we have to notify that teacher that they have a new student coming to their classroom so that they're prepared and able to welcome that student. If the parent has questions, they're able to go to the school office, get a tour of the campus, all of the things that we want students and families to feel welcome at their new site.
Awesome, thank you. My last question would be, how is our LEO program being effective? Are there people who are students enrolling there?
So for families that do not want their students split and they do not want the in-person option that we've provided to them, they have the option of enrolling at LEO. And sometimes what we might have is a split of that too. So we might have had room at their school of residence for one sibling, and the other student might be on LEO until there's availability in that grade level. So LEO has been used in a small way for students in that situation as well.
Thank you. And do we know how many students have enrolled in LEO for this year?
The last I can recall is that we had 17 students, no littles. It was all a 5th grade and up, if I remember correctly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You mentioned that the address verification started out with 8th grade. If I recall correctly, and from a previous presentation, that was going to be added to over the years. Can you refresh on how that is going to progress?
So the goal right now would be to do 8th grade again, because those students would have been in 7th. And again, we're trying to catch students before they go into our high school. So 8th grade and then 5th grade would be the next one, likely the next year. So it'd be like before they get into the middle school span, and then 5th grade, and then we would have a different span. Typically, our younger students, they are brand new to us, so we've already verified their address. As some other students, we wouldn't verify those students. So as of now, we would be 8th grade and then 5th grade, and then we're still kind of learning the number of students and how long that process takes. So if we had time available before we kick off in February again, then we would do some additional grade levels as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for the presentations. Super informative, especially for someone newer to the board. I'm going to build off a couple questions, and then I've got some other ones. Do you know, there's always this debate of students who are in our district that don't live here. And so having gone through the 8th grade verification process, do you have a ballpark number or percentage of students that were disenrolled because they were not able to prove that they live?
I would want to pull that number to make sure I was precise,
that
not
would
off
be
the top of my head.
Sure, that'd be helpful as a follow-up.
Okay.
You talked about disenrolling some students. Were there some scenarios where that family had an 8th grader and a 4th grader and both siblings were disenrolled because they could not prove residency?
Correct.
Okay, so we would do that. Once
Correct.
you identify some issue, that entire family then gets impacted.
Yes, because of the conversely, if it was that one address verification for 8th grade served as a positive to 6th and 2nd grade siblings, the same thing would happen in reverse as well.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I was going to ask about the expanding to more grades, and Trustee Pombo asked about that. For Trustee Daniel, I asked about kind of how long we let people switch for. So I just want to make sure I understand. So in December, if a spot opens up, so if I have a kid at an overflow site and a spot opens up in my home, school of residence, do we offer that switch that late in the year, or is there a point where we say, it doesn't make sense because they're already accustomed to that school and we don't want to disrupt them?
We provide the opportunity to families, and then they make that decision about what they feel is best for their students. So we were offering change of placements well into the spring.
Okay. Okay, interesting. And then if I'm as a parent, if I'm assigned as an overflow to Bethany, for example, do you guys at any point say, hey, by the way, we have a spot now, so you need to go back? Or is it still an option at that point?
So depending on the space when that intra-district transfer request comes in would be how the principal would process. The assumption is if a student's there currently, there's likely space. To date in our district, unless I go way, way back in the archives, like when we were using every nook and cranny at Bethany Elementary School, all the resource rooms, we have not revoked current intra-district transfers. That has not been our past practice, unless they had violated the agreement that they do of some kind. They're not meeting grades, they're not meeting attendance.
Within that year?
So an intra-district transfer, once a student submits it, they don't have to do an intra within the district again. That would carry them potentially through their elementary school age.
Okay. So if I get assigned a different school for overflow, do I have to fill out the form, or is that's no
Only
form?
if you want to stay there once a
The next
space
year.
becomes available.
Okay, got it.
Even within that current school year.
Oh,
So
even
like say
within-
they came
okay.
available in January and your parent wanted you to stay there, you'd have to fill it in and it would have to be approved for that school year, and then that would carry moving forward.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I understand. So if I do overflow, or if I do an intra-district transfer, and for 25-26 there's space at Bethany, I get to go to Bethany basically until I graduate Bethany.
Assuming that you are being a positive
Maintain
student.
all the criteria.
Correct.
So we don't then make a decision that says, hey, Bethany's overflowing. We are now forcing kids who live in Bethany, someone moves in new to the neighborhood, they want to attend Bethany, that one of those seats is basically taken by a student who previously was granted an intra-district transfer. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Trustee Moody, can I just piggyback
Yeah.
on that question?
Yeah.
Do you set limits on, like, if somebody requests an inter-district transfer and they get it granted, can they then request to transfer back to their school a few years later and back and forth, I mean, is there any kind of limit on that, or is it just kind of based on a case-by-case scenario?
So if a student is on an intra, the parent decides, you know what, I would like to go back to my school of residence, we would absolutely allow that, assuming that there's space available. And then it has happened where the student's like, or the parent thought, we wanted to go back to the X school, we wanted to reapply to go back to the school where we were overflowed, and then it would again be determined if there was space available. We haven't limited how many times a family may go back and forth.
Okay.
In your view, just the scenario that I described where someone chooses to stay at a school and they obviously take up a space for a resident in that neighborhood, does that impact, like, is that a significant impact on students? Is that what causes overflow, or is it?
I would not say that's necessarily the case, because like if we look at Cordes Elementary School, they have very few students that are there on any type of transfer, and they are our most impacted school site. Often,
Even if you take away TK? Sorry.
even if you take away TK, correct. So if I had, that was like 100 something, 76 of those, but even so, over 40 students are still on overflow for Cordes.
From other schools?
They're at other schools from
They're
Cordes.
at other schools?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
got it. Okay. I think that's an interesting scenario, and I think especially in, I'll take Quest as an example, because that'll probably happen now, right? You're going to have students who are north of Byron who don't have the school currently. They're going to go to Cuesta. They now basically largely retain the right to go to Cuesta throughout their elementary education. And then Cuesta families who might either have, school-age kids coming up or move into the neighborhood are at a higher risk potentially of not having, space at that home school to go to. So I think it's something to watch. I don't have an answer for it, but I do think it's a concern that we should try to see if there's if it becomes really impactful, what are options that we could do to look at that. I do have a question. You mentioned Bethany's an older school, but still has higher enrollment. What explains that in your view? If you look at the Bethany student population, so the last time I had a graduating class there, I think it was 2014, if I remember correctly, there's still families that I know from my time there as a teacher. So it's interesting, and some of our former students now have their children going to Bethany Elementary School. So part of it is multi-generational homes, is some of my observation, just very surface observation, but then also the fact that some of these families, they have been in Bethany and stayed in Bethany as well. Okay, got it. You had mentioned that the registration date is when it's complete. Do you know ballpark what % of registrations end up getting returned due to incomplete information? I don't have a percentage, but I will say a majority. I would feel comfortable saying a majority. More than 50%? Yes. Wow, okay. And the next question then is, how soon is that determination made for it to be returned? Does it take us a few days, or is it weeks before they find out that they had incomplete information? So I would say when we first kick off in February, that's when we get the huge wave crashing, and it might be a week or two before they hear from us. Other enrollments, like right now, if someone was to enroll, they would hear within a few days of if we're needing any additional documents. Okay. That's mind-boggling and surprising. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm trying to think. If I have space available after I've overflowed, I decline that, and I want to stay at that school. The next year, then I'd have to fill out the form, or at that moment, I'd have to fill out the intra-district transfer form. Is that right? To stay at the overflow site, yes, you would need to do it. Like, if you declined it, then it would be like, okay, I'm going to send you the Inform K-12 to go ahead and fill out a transfer request. And so that would be taken care of immediately through the electronic process. Okay. And then you had a slide that had all the other considerations beyond the military, and I think bullying was the legally required ones, and then there were other considerations. Can you walk through a scenario where, if you get two registrations for the same date, they're completed on the same date, one has a sibling, one doesn't have a sibling. Are those factors considered in, which one gets priority? Does someone who needs childcare in that area get priority? Does someone who has a sibling there? Is it? Can you walk through? Is that regulated, or is it just more of an art versus science? So that's why all of our applications are dated and time-stamped. Because it sometimes would get down to the minute of when the application was received. Now, let's say that they
came in exactly the same moment in time, the student that had a sibling would be given priority over a student that didn't have a sibling. If it came in, if everything else was the same, we would place a student with a sibling first.
Okay, got it. And I think one of the scenarios, maybe scenario 2, it sounded like that might have been the one describing where they'd rather not go to Lammersville Elementary School with both students together, so they'd rather take two different
Correct.
schools. Okay, got it. And then I'm going to piggyback off of what Trustee Olson had asked about the inter-district versus intra-district transfers. Is it mandated by state law or something that says we should go by registrations that process them as they come in? Or I'm going to present a different scenario where we say, okay, we're going to do all intra-district transfers that we receive by July 1, and we're going to do those first. Anything after that, then we're going to do all inter-districts by July 15th. And then anything that comes in after those dates are kind of as they come in. But what I think Trustee Olson was asking about is, the inter-districts, are they potentially taking up spots from our own students within the district? So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So some of them are held. You'll see that you get the staff inter-district transfers in a big batch earlier in the spring, later in the spring, and then the other ones come in during the summer. So they are still batched, but they're still in the order that they were received. So the other thing that I would note is for the enrollment, we had a number of enrollments come in at the very end, like that last week or so prior to school starting as well. So that was a problem for families that were wanting their school of residence, because what happens is when the enrollment window opens, February 1st, let's say, it's that first Monday in February, that starts. And then shortly after those first enrollments start coming in, we start having our staffing meetings. And we're looking at enrollments that are coming in, primarily our TK and kinder registrations, but there's other grade levels as well. And that is going to determine our staffing. So then by the time we get into the spring, staffing, unless there's growth, is kind of settled. And so that becomes more so the determining factor. Now, this year, we had to add some bonus TK classes because we had another wave of TK come in at the end of the summer. So we opened up 2 additional TK classrooms, but we didn't have enough of the other grade level enrollments to responsibly justify opening up another class at grade level X, Y, or Z at a given site. So all of that enrollment, the earlier we get it, that helps to drive the staffing. Now, having said that, there's also some finite limits that we can't go beyond. Cordis is at capacity. I don't have any additional classroom spaces at Cordis. That one, other places, I was calling principals saying, hey, I need to add another TK. We need to get creative with spacing. What space do you have available for me? And it might require the displacement of maybe a resource specialist teacher. It might require the placement of a school psychologist and a speech teacher that shared a room. So some of those things we're doing as we get closer and closer. But again, we don't staff until we have the students show up. And not just the students that are in the air, like the soft number, that the students who have submitted all of their required documents to where we feel confident that they're coming back. The other thing that has an additional ripple is we have a number of students that disenroll at the end of the year. So I think when you look at the board report, you're like, why is it April, May, and all of a sudden our enrollment's declining? That's because students are being disenrolled by their parents because they're traveling abroad. Those families return and they want their place back at their school of residence, but that spot is now gone. And so that causes some consternation on the part of those families who disenrolled their students and felt that we should save their spot.
I want to thank you for all of the detailed scenarios and all the hard work that your team does. I suspect there are scenarios that you couldn't even have imagined. So I think to go into, very, very specific for a variety of scenarios would be challenging. But thank you for what you've done. Are there any more generalized questions for Assistant Superintendent Busuttil?
I just know that it is, as you describe it, I think providing this information and kind of the thought process behind it is extremely helpful, because there's a lot of speculation, right, that goes on in the community. So I think putting this out there is super helpful. I will say, as you describe it, I commend the staff and yourself for for having to manage this, right? Because it is a ridiculous number of dominoes that are considered and that fall. You know, you push one person back to their homeschool, then you bring in another student because there's space there. They don't want it. I mean, it's just I can't even imagine it, right? So thank you so much to the team that does this work. It's extremely complicated. You will never probably be able to please everybody. And so I think that should just be the bar, that we're not going to make everybody happy. But I think everyone should be content that the team is doing their best to meet the needs of the community, the staffing, and the students. Thank you very much.
I say this every year during the school start, and I'm going to say it again. Your team is one of the most kindest, patient, and very considerate team. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had a.
I have one final question. Can we have this presentation placed on the Student Services website so that should anybody have questions about the process, we can just refer them to the presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great idea.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No
And
problem.
thank you for all your time and again, the time you spend and the logistics you spend trying to make everybody happy. So yeah, thank you.
I think student trustee Radish had a question.
Okay, great.
Just a small final thing. I know a lot of the questions are like at the top, but a lot of I guess a more foundational question. How do spaces clear? Like, should a student expect that when they go to an overfill school, that they should go back at another point? Is it kind of like, is there a percentage for the amount of students that typically are just at an overfill school for a little while and they come back? And then like for the students that leave that school, why is it that they leave, or why is this place clear?
It might just be natural family moving. It's just families moving from either one village to another, or from one city, from Mountain House to another, or if you're at Lammersville School, Tracy. So all of that is family movement, and so that's what fluctuates whether we have spaces available or not during the school year.
That's a really good question. Thank you. Okay,
And
thank
then,
you.
Madam President, we have two more things on my soups report. I want to say that's probably the best soups report I've ever given. So, but Trustee Daniels said something about the positivity of the staff, and I just wanted to say that positivity of the staff is a reflection of the leader of that department. And second of all, I want to shout out HR and other senior leaders in the staff on our staff. We hire conservatively because when you hire a teacher, you own the teacher. And if you miss, you have to miss short, not long, because long costs you about $125,000 per miss. So they do a very, very good job. And we've gotten better over time of anticipating the number of staffing needs that we have. And that's a collective effort. One-stop staffing is what they call it. And it's really fleshed out by most of the people sitting out there and the school site principals. So, but now I have some good news. So today I was on a Zoom with, I can't remember what, but it was something not particularly interesting, but something I was required to do. And when I saw an email come in from the California School Boards Association with an interesting statement. They said, and I quote, if I grab the right paper, the California School Boards Association, they're very pleased to inform us that our program, the Wellness Center, has been selected as a finalist for the 2025 Golden Bell Awards. So that would be number 6, if we can prove that what we do is actually what we do. So there'll be some pressure on Dr. Arbach and some others, but that'll be the final step of the process. So I wanted to congratulate everybody and the board for their wisdom on having a wellness center. And then our other good news is United States Representative Josh Harder has an award called the 2025 Educator Impact Awards. And we have an esteemed member of our staff who is named Executive of the Year, and that is Thorsten Wallen Harrison. So so excited, he was weeping, and we won't let him come out in person, so that's why he's not here, but he's upstairs, and we have a box of Kleenex with him. So with that, Madam President, that is my report.
That's awesome news. Thank you. Item B, district enrollment report.
And the number is 8,056 as of Friday. It's filtered back down to the high 40s, so we're right around 8,050.
Thank you. Item C, district maintenance and operations report. Director Dixon.
Good evening. So warehouse orders from sites are almost complete for the beginning of the school year. We'll begin picking up returns on Friday. Annual inspections for student transport vans are complete and ready for the school year to begin. The pool's been good since the last board meeting. There's no chemical issues. There's no pH or temperature issues either. The weather's supposed to be hot this week and part of next week. We're watching the fields for signs of distress from the heat. We're watering the fields 7 days a week, and then we're also doing some manual watering at the high school. A few HVAC issues with the heat as well that came in this week. They are being addressed. We expect there'll be some more next week as well going into that week. And then civic permits open the first week of August to the public. Most of the time slots now are full for all our facilities. And then currently we have no openings in maintenance or custodial.
Nice, thank you. Item 10, action items. Item A, consider approval of worksite agreement with the Chef Ann Foundation. Staff report?
Yes, this is professional development for our food service workers. It's been highly regarded in the past, and we recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to approve of worksite agreement with the Chef Ann Foundation.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Daniels, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item B, consider approval of contract with Soliant Health LLC for an American Sign Language interpreter for the 25-26 school year. Total cost $62,640. Staff report, please.
Yes, this is this replaces a previously approved contract that didn't work out for one person, so this replaces the person we weren't able to land and gives us the sign language that we need.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just one question. This is a special ed expense, but the money comes from the general fund. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. And with that, I will move to approve the contract with Soliant Health LLC for an American Sign Language interpreter for the 25-26 school year. Total cost $62,640.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Pombo and a second by trustee Modi, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item 11, information and discussion items. Item A, annual San Joaquin County School Board's dinner. Staff report, please.
Yes, almost every year we attend the county's board dinner. This year it'll be at the Brookside Country Club on a very special date, October 20th. Oh, what is it? 29. I'm sorry. I apologize. We have many October birthdays here on the dais. It's the 29th of October. October 29th, and it is still at the Brookside Country Club. We're asking for board members' desire to attend, and if you want to attend, you have a choice between chicken, beef, and ravioli.
I can attend. I'd like chicken, please.
I can attend and I'll take beef this time.
Beef.
I'll be able to attend, and I'll take the ravioli, please.
Should be able to attend. Take the ravioli.
And by the way, I would be happy to join you for dinner on the 20th if you like.
Item 12, calendar. Item A, Monday, September 1st, 2025 is Labor Day. District facilities will be closed. Item B, Wednesday, September 3rd is the next regular governing board meeting at 7 o'clock here in the district office. Item C, Wednesday, September 24th is the Safety Committee meeting at 3:45 in the Professional Development Center. In a moment, we will adjourn to closed session where we will discuss Item A, Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release Complaint, Government Code Section 54957. Item B, Conference with Real Property Negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8. And item C, Public Employee Appointment, Employment Evaluation Superintendent, Government Code Section 54357.6.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Pombo and a second by trustee Olson, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. We are adjourned to closed session at 8:14 p.m. Thank you, everyone.